How do we address biases in education systems? My research agenda focuses on inequity in education. In our school system, unfortunately, inequities, bias, and stereotypes are perpetuated. And this implies that children get exposed to negative stereotypes early on that may affect their educational path and may lead them to decide to choose different paths that are not the optimal for their career. There is a recent paper that has been accepted by the American Economic Review in which we find that teachers to hold negative stereotypes against immigrant children. We do use as a measure of their stereotypes the implicit association test. The implicit association test is a test that was developed by social psychologists in the 1990s with the idea to capture the implicit association that individuals have. For example, individuals may be more likely to associate gender with a specific field of study. And this is what, with the implicit association test, we are trying to capture. So this study takes place in Italy. Italy is a country, as most European countries, in which immigration is a pretty recent phenomenon. Just to give you an idea, at the beginning of 2000, there were less than 4% of immigrants in Italian schools, while right now the average share of immigrants in the school system is above 20%. This implies that most of the teachers that are currently teaching in school, when they grew up, they were not exposed to immigration themselves. Right now, they get a very diverse setting with classes with different levels of understanding of the language with different cultural exposure. For these immigrant children, the public sector, public education is actually the opportunity to climb up the socioeconomic ladder. And this is what can really offer in the future a higher possibility for social mobility. But also more broadly, as a society, it has deep implication for social cohesion and interaction among different groups. We do find that for immigrant children, being exposed to negative stereotypes and it affects their possibility of getting higher grades with potential consequences on the long term. However, our research tried to move one step further. We tried to think about how does increasing awareness on implicit stereotypes of teachers and actually help mitigating those biases. We implement an experiment, it's a randomized control trial, in which for half of the teachers we inform them about their implicit stereotype and the other half just take the test but do not get the information on their score. What we find is that for those teachers in schools in which they get informed individually about their implicit association test, their gap in terms of grading of immigrant children decreases of almost half. This is very important because it suggests that teachers hold these stereotypical beliefs but are not necessarily aware of these stereotypes and they do not necessarily want to harm this stigmatized group. But they are simply, in their daily interaction, exposed or using these heuristics, these stereotypes, to inform their judgment and their behavior toward immigrants. However, the good news is that this can be changed. More awareness can help. In our research, we also find that the teachers that have the highest level of bias do not respond to a treatment in which they are informed about general stereotypes in the society. But they do respond to the information that they have biases. So becoming aware of their own stereotypes is what is leading this teacher to change their behavior and mitigate their biases. So the implicit association test is an important educational tool. It's not perfect, it has a lot of noise, but it can help individuals to become more aware of their own implicit biases and try to help us to think more carefully about the consequences of that on the children. I think more broadly in the society, this is something that in the US and all over the world, there need to be more awareness because without awareness, we can't really start to see a change in these outcomes, trying to increase equity in our school and overall. So I think there are important takeaways that goes beyond using the implicit association test and trying to use data-driven approaches to help individuals to control their biases and become aware of the implicit stereotypes. In the schooling context, often teachers give recommendation for students to follow different paths or to take different advanced classes, advanced STEM classes. This sort of algorithm could be another way to help the biasing individuals and help increasing awareness on something that could be sort of mechanical or based on memory. I just wrongly recall some information about the student that leads me to make a biased judgment. And we can use different type of data-driven tools in order to help individuals controlling their biases and make sure that their choices are really the result of something that they believe is for the best of the individuals and not the results of stereotypes and biased behavior.